Okay, so if you've ever stared at a rejection letter, maybe a less than stellar GPA, or just felt overwhelmed by the cost of college and thought, well, that's it for my financial future.
Yeah.
Then stick around.
Yeah.
Because the sources we've pulled together today, they could fundamentally change how you see things. Yeah. We're talking about that almost universal feeling, you know, academic failure, and how, believe it or not, it's often been the biggest launch pad for incredible wealth.
It's true. That feeling, it's potent, isn't it? Because society hammers home this degree or bust idea.
Totally.
We're basically conditioned to think that the only real path to being financially secure goes straight through a university campus.
Right. The ivory tower.
Exactly. But our deep dive today, it cuts right through that narrative. We've looked at the blueprints from some real icons. I mean, people who seriously flunked the traditional script, you know, the Gateses, the Jobs, Oprah Winfrey.
Yep.
And they didn't just succeed, they built multi-billion-dollar empires.
So our mission here is pretty straightforward. Yeah. We want to distill how they did it into a kind of lifetime roadmap for you, the listener.
Right.
It's got to be more than just inspiration, though. We need the actual financial application. What were the concrete, tangible tactics they used?
The stuff you can actually do.
Exactly. So you can, out-earn, outsmart, and basically outlast anyone who doubts you just by leveraging your real-world smarts and hustle.
Okay, so let's tackle that core assumption first, the whole GPA destiny thing.
Let's do it. Let's unpack this, because there's some data here that really flips the script on the idea that your academic record dictates your financial future. You hear this stat all the time, right? College grads earn about 66% more over their lifetime, on average, than people without degrees. Sounds pretty convincing.
It does, on the surface. But then you look closer, especially at the top end.
Okay.
What our sources are showing is that the top 10% of earners without degrees, they're often hitting 7 figures. They completely blow past that 66% average.
Wow.
Usually through entrepreneurship or by building really specific, high-value skills, they just bypass the whole traditional salary structure.
Okay, so that begs the question, right? Why? Why does the real world seem to reward something different than the classroom? Why can that top 10% eclipse the average grad earnings so dramatically?
Well, because success out here in the real world, it depends way less on memorizing stuff for exams.
Right.
And way more on things like grit, being adaptable, solving problems on the fly, street smarts. People who skip the traditional route, they're thrown right into the marketplace. They have to learn to network, spot opportunities, hustle, because they're not sitting in lectures.
So forces a different kind of learning.
Exactly. We kind of call it the finance skip mindset. You're essentially trading 4 years and maybe $100,000 in potential debt?
Or more.
Yeah, or more. And you're trading that for building income-generating skills right now.
And you see this perfectly with someone like Richard Branson, right? Left school at 16, starts Virgin. He didn't see it as failing school.
Yeah.
He saw it as changing his classroom.
That's a great way to put it. He famously said he saw life almost like one long university education. And that's the key insight, isn't it? The world rewards people who solve problems. It doesn't really care if you can quote obscure poetry or past Gen Ed 101.
Okay, so let's move from the philosophy, the why, to the how, the proof. These are the trailblazers who aced the school of hard knocks.
Right.
For each one, what's the core financial lesson we can actually extract?
Yeah, this isn't just about telling cool stories. We need to mine the financial engine behind their success, what actually made the money work.
Okay, let's start with maybe the most famous dropout. Bill Gates. Quits Harvard at 20, goes all in on coding Microsoft, turns a garage project into, Microsoft.
Gates' big lesson, spotting that technological leverage early on, seeing where things were going.
Software, in his case.
Exactly. And then, crucially, reinvesting the profits ruthlessly to just keep building that advantage, keep dominating. It's all about compounding your bets.
Okay, but ruthless reinvesting sounds risky. How do we know the difference between smart compounding and just, reckless gambling?
That's a fair question. I think the distinction is in the foresight and the skill. Gates wasn't just throwing money around. He was doubling down on his core strength, software. He understood it deeply.
Got it.
So, the actionable tip for you listening, start smaller. Dedicate time, maybe an hour a day, to learning a high leverage skill, coding basics, AI fundamentals. You can find this stuff free on Coursera, ADX, places like that. That skill becomes your initial capital. Then you compound it by building actual projects, getting better, not just collecting certificates.
Okay, next up, Steve Jobs. drops out of Reed College, but then famously sits in on a calligraphy class. Right? It seems totally random.
Yeah, totally random at the time.
But that apparently influenced the whole design aesthetic of the Mac. His wealth wasn't from a degree. It was from intuition, killer design, brilliant marketing.
That calligraphy story is so telling, isn't it? It's a perfect example of what people now call skill stacking. Taking seemingly unrelated bits of knowledge and combining them into something unique that the market values. His financial lesson is really about honing those creative hustles, the things that are hard to just automate away.
Like app development.
Yeah.
Or unique design.
Exactly. Things that require that human touch, that intuition, one really well-executed idea driven by that unique vision that can absolutely fund your freedom.
Okay, and Richard Branson again.
Yeah.
The dyslexic kid who dropped out. He built Virgin by being smart with leverage, right? Using debt.
Yeah, but smartly. That's the key. Branson's finance hack demonstrates using calculated risk. He'd leveraged debt, yes, but typically for ventures that had a really high potential upside.
Like airlines or space travel eventually.
Well, big swings. But he balanced that risk through massive diversification. Records, airlines, mobile phones, trains.
So how does someone listening emulate that now without, billions to start?
You start small, low cost, like a dropshipping business, maybe freelancing online, something with low overhead. Then, as soon as you make any profit from that hustle, you immediately plow some of it into something stable, like a broad index fund. That diversifies your risk right away. You're not betting the farm on just the side gig.
We also saw a more modern example in the sources, didn't we? Someone younger.
Yeah, this 39-year-old guy, no degree, making something like $18,000 a month, passively.
Wow, from online courses.
Exactly. And he credited skill stacking, too. Specifically, he combined copywriting chops with SEO knowledge. 2 skills stacked together.
So the lesson there is get practical skills employers need.
Get practical skills, stack them, and then go where the demand is. Platforms like Upwork or Fiverr. Seriously, landing just one good client with the right stacked skills, that income can easily beat a typical entry-level salary from a degree job.
Okay, so if the lives of Gates, Jobs, Branson are like the curriculum, we also need to talk about the mindset, right? How do you keep going when things inevitably go wrong? Failure is part of the process.
Absolutely. And you can even find lessons in pop culture. Think of them as free case studies, failure-forged fables. They often show underdogs ditching the expected path for something riskier but potentially more rewarding.
Yeah, like in movies. I'm thinking of The Pursuit of Happiness. Remember, Chris Gardner, he grinds through that unpaid internship.
Brutal.
Just a master stockbroking. The lesson there is sheer grit. You bypass the 4-year degree, maybe focus intensely on getting one key certification, like a fan or eye license. That can open Wall Street doors faster sometimes.
Or think about Slumdog Millionaire. The kid wins the fortune basically by answering questions based on his life experiences, his street smarts.
Yeah, life's quizzes.
That's like the ultimate finance hack, isn't it? Turning your unique survival skills, your lived experience into something valuable. Maybe it's an online course on street investing or negotiation tactics learned the hard way. Generate passive income from what you know.
And the actual quotes from these dropouts, they just demolish the whole idea of failure being final. Thomas Edison, right, dropped out at 12. I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. That reframes everything. Failure isn't an endpoint, it's just data.
Exactly. Or Henry Ford quit school at 15. The only real mistake is the one from which we learn nothing. And if you tie this all together, one financial thinker we looked at really hammers this home. You have to build your income engine first.
Right. Earning potential.
His point is blunt. You can't cut your way to a financially wealthy life. You can't just budget your way to riches if you're not earning enough. You have to build valuable skills first.
Okay, this is perfect. Let's pivot now from the inspiration and the mindset to the actual application, the finance skip blueprint, as you called it, the roadmap our sources suggest.
Right.
Step 1 is acknowledging the huge advantage. By skipping the degree, you potentially dodge, $1.7 trillion in collective U.S. student debt. You trade that massive liability for paths with potentially much higher, faster ROI.
Okay, so strategy number 1 is building that income engine we just talked about. Skill up for sky-high income. Ditch the idea of being a jack of all trades. You need to master 1, maybe 2 really high-demand skills.
Like what? specifically? What's high demand now?
Things like technical sales, understanding a product deeply and being able to sell it, front-end web development, specialized digital marketing, like conversion rate optimization, helping websites make more sales.
Why those specifically?
Because they directly, measurably impact a company's bottom line, revenue. That makes you valuable, degree or not.
Okay.
We saw freelancers on places like Fiverr, armed with just these kinds of specific skills, pulling in $10,000 a month, no degree needed.
Wow. And the lifetime hack here is?
Consistency. Just 1 hour a day. Use the Free Stuff Khan Academy specific, high-quality YouTube channels teaching these skills.
Right.
But focus on building actual projects for portfolio, not just watching videos. Do that consistently. You could realistically pivot to a remote job paying 70 TAs plus in maybe 6 months to a year.
That's powerful.
And remember what the sources advised. Take more calculated risks when you're young. You generally have less money, sure, but you have more time. Time is crucial for recovering from the inevitable setbacks.
Okay, so you build the income engine, then what? These sources emphasize defense, right? Strategy 2. Budget. Like a boss.
Absolutely. Got to protect that income. The classic rule here is the 50-30-20 rule.
Break that down.
Okay, 50% of your take-home pay goes to absolute needs. Rent or mortgage, basic groceries, utilities, essential transportation. 30% is for wants. Dining out, entertainment, hobbies, clothes you don't strictly need.
And the crucial 20%.
That goes directly and automatically to savings and investments. Non-negotiable. Use an app like Mint or YNAB to track every dollar. The goal isn't just misery budgeting, it's freeing up capital for step 3.
And a huge part of this defense is avoiding something you mentioned earlier. Lifestyle creep.
Oh yeah, the silent wealth killer. It's not just buying a fancy car when you get a raise. It's subtle. Every little income bump gets immediately absorbed by slightly higher recurring costs. A slightly nicer apartment, more subscriptions, more eating out. It just vanishes.
So you never actually get ahead.
Exactly. You're trapped. The way to fight it. When you get a raise or bonus, consciously keep your living standard the same for, say, 6 months. Automate that entire raise directly into your investments during that period. Break the cycle.
Okay, and another pro move for defense. Using credit cards as debit cards. Explain that.
Right. This sounds counterintuitive, but it's about building credit without paying interest. You use your credit card for everyday purchases, gas, groceries, mainly for the points or rewards.
Right.
But, and this is critical, you treat it exactly like a debit card. You only spend money you already have in your checking account, and you pay off the entire statement balance every single month. No exceptions.
So you never carry a balance, never pay interest?
Never. 0 interest paid.
Right.
But you build a perfect payment history, which boosts your credit score. That's vital for later moves, like getting a good mortgage rate.
Makes sense. And you mentioned automating investments after the emergency fund.
Yes. First priority with that 20% is building an emergency fund 3 to 6 months of essential living expenses in a safe place, like a high-yield savings account. Once that's full, then you automate your investment contributions. Even $200 a month, compounded over decades, that can easily grow to $1 million by retirement.
Okay, brings us to strategy 3. Invest smart, not fancy. This is where people get intimidated, right? Thinking they need to be stock pickers.
Totally intimidated. And it's unnecessary. The core tactic here, echoed across multiple sources, is stunningly simple.
But yes.
Put the vast majority, like 90% of your long-term investment money into low-cost, broad market index funds.
Like the S&P 500.
The Vanguard S&P 500 ETF, VOO, is a classic example mentioned. Low fees, instantly diversified across 500 of the biggest U.S. companies.
Okay, but why the S&P 500 specifically for someone starting out? Isn't that just U.S. companies?
It is primarily U.S. companies, but they are the 500 largest publicly traded ones, covering all major sectors: tech, finance, healthcare, consumer goods. It gives you really broad exposure to the engine of the U.S. economy, which historically has performed well long-term.
Gotcha.
It's diversified enough for most people starting up, super low cost, and incredibly easy to just buy and hold. The crucial part: don't try to time the market. Don't wait for the perfect moment to buy.
Use dollar cost averaging instead.
Exactly. Explain what that is.
Right. Dollar cost averaging just means you invest a fixed amount of money, say $50 or $100 on a regular schedule, like every week or every 2 weeks. Doesn't matter if the market is up that day or down that day.
Why is that so effective?
Because it takes emotion out of it.
Yeah.
When prices are low, your fixed amount buys more shares. When prices are high, it buys fewer shares. Over time, this lowers your average cost per share. Consistency beats trying to be brilliant.
Perfectly put. Now, the sources also mentioned a real estate skip, but it wasn't about avoiding property. It was about a specific tactic: house hacking.
Ah, right. Explain house hacking.
It's basically buying a small multi-unit property, like a duplex, triplex, maybe a fourplex, living in one of the units yourself and renting out the other units.
Okay, I see the concept. How does that actually accelerate wealth compared to just renting or buying a single-family home? What's the practical impact?
Huge impact. Your tenants' rent payments are covering a large chunk, maybe even all of your mortgage payment. So suddenly your biggest monthly expense housing is drastically reduced or even eliminated. Plus, you're living in an asset that's appreciating and you're building equity faster because the tenants are helping pay down the loan.
So it turns your home from a liability into an income source, essentially.
Precisely. You stabilize your own housing costs, build equity faster, and potentially live for free. Once that property is stable and has some equity, you can potentially refinance or use a HELOC to pull out funds for the down payment on the next rental property. It's a way to scale into real estate much faster than saving up 20% down payments over and over for decades.
Smart. And don't forget the tax advantages mentioned. Maxing out Roth IRAs.
Crucial. With a Roth IRA, you invest money you've already paid taxes on, but then all the growth, all the withdrawals in retirement, completely tax-free. That's enormous.
And learning basic deductions.
Yeah, just using the free guides on the IRS website or sites like Investopedia. If you're freelancing or have a side business, understanding deductions is free money. Self-education here pays huge dividends.
Okay, that leads perfectly into the final piece, strategy 4, mindset mastery. This feels like the glue holding it all together.
It absolutely is. It's the invisible foundation. You can know all the tactics, but without the right mindset, you won't execute consistently.
And it starts with reading. Intellectual curiosity.
Voracious reading. Start with something like Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It's controversial for some, but it fundamentally shifts how you think about assets versus liabilities. Understanding that difference is step 1.
Okay, what else?
Then something like Atomic Habits by James Clear. It's all about building the small, consistent disciplines needed to actually follow through on your budget, your investing schedule, your skill building hour.
Makes sense. Discipline links back to everything.
And that discipline extends to your physical health too. The sources mention this. Wealth follows health.
How so?
Getting up early, exercising, managing stress. It's not just about feeling good. It builds mental toughness, clarity, and energy. That directly impacts your financial decisions, your focus in your business or learning. It's all connected.
Okay, so as we kind of wrap this deep dive up, the big picture is that this isn't a get-rich-quick scheme. It's a long game.
Definitely a marathon mindset. And it needs regular check-ins. Like annually, you should probably re-audit your skills. Are they still in demand? Tweak your budget based on actual spending.
And actively avoid those pitfalls we mentioned.
Right. Lifestyle creep, letting your expenses rise with your income. And the other big one, chasing FOMO trades.
FOMO, fear of missing out.
Exactly. Seeing a friend get rich quick on some meme stock or crypto coin and jumping in without understanding it just because you're afraid of missing the boat.
So stick to the plan.
Stick to the boring, proven plan. The index funds, the consistent saving. Remember that quote? Personal finance is 80% discipline, 20% decisions. The decisions are simple. The discipline is the hard part.
So for everyone listening right now, what does this all boil down to? If you skipped college, or maybe didn't do well academically.
Yeah.
That's not the end. It can be your superpower, your origin story. You've now got the blueprints from people who proved it, and you've got concrete, actionable steps.
And maybe one last thought to leave you with, kind of circling back to Henry Ford. He said, anyone who stops learning is old, whether at 20 or 80. Anyone who keeps learning stays young. Since we've kind of established that formal schooling isn't the only key, maybe not even the main key to financial success, then the single most important investment you can make, it's building your own system for continuous, self-directed learning, especially in those high-demand fields.
So the challenge to you listening is, start today, right now. Pick one skill you're going to commit to learning, cut one unnecessary expense, use that 50-30-20 rule as your guide, and invest your first $50. Just start.
Yeah.
So the final question for you is, what's the one skill you'll commit to learning? 1 hour a day, starting now. Go figure that out.